Hey, what's up, card fighters? So I wanted to go ahead and profile the KHEIOS list with the new set 8 support that I did use like last week at locals. I did go 2-2, but that's because I was like still trying to learn the deck, and I did make some key mistakes in deck building and in play, but I think this is like one of the more powerful of the Dark States decks that we do have at our disposal right now, even though the deck is one of those no get all gas, no brakes combo decks. But let's get into it. The rad line. So I'm choosing to just max out on the KHEIOS rad line, even though it's not the greatest Dark State rad line. Like in the past, you guys know that I was using Deep Sonicer over the grade 1 KHEIOS because you can just whiff off the grade 1 KHEIOS, especially since you are playing order cards. But you just need it for the name for your main promo order, like just like the different names and the fact that you just get to like thin out your deck, shuffle your deck, and then like basically superior call one from soul based off your order card and how many different names you have in soul. That's like the very like the best card in your deck. It's like a very powerful power card in your deck. But let's get on into it. So we are going to start with the order cards. I am playing, One Who Governs Chaos. That's what the order's called. So I'm playing 4 copies of One Who Governs Chaos. It is a grade 1 order card. Like I said, this is like just basically like the focal point of your deck. You need to resolve this at least one time. In my personal opinion, of course, you need to resolve this at least one time. Ideally, I try to get it off once on turn 2 if I'm able to get the superior call off. If not, it just kind of becomes like a -1 instead of a break even. So if you can't get the superior call off on turn 2, my advice is to just save it for turn 3 so it's guaranteed. But I try to get it off on turn 2 and on turn 3/turn 4. And we're playing 1 Chalice. So Chalice actually kind of works in this deck because it's an extra copy of Persona Ride. It's a pseudo name. You can fish it off your grade 3 KHEIOS if you do see it on your top 3. And because Persona Riding is kind of like part of your kill combo, because if you don't Persona Ride or like you don't use the order, your grade 3 Mikenis are just going to be like swinging for vanilla 13s because you're not going to boost with them because you want a boost after you give them the 10k power to all your rear guards. So that's why we are running the Chalice. And then on to the grade 3s. Playing 3 copies of Persona Ride. Again, Persona Ride is actually like really crucial in this deck. So that's why we are maxing out on it. And if you do soul charge it early before you actually do get to Persona Ride, it does count as an extra name for One Who Governs Chaos, your order card. And then 4 copies of the grade 4 Mikini. He is, he's your restander. Ooh, that's kind of like off camera a little bit. Is that better? That's better. I think I'll just put it on top of each other. So 4 copies of the grade 3 Mikini. He's your restander / he's your board removal card, which is actually really funny because of how consistent this deck is now. Like you could actually freely use the pop effect. I usually use it to try and get rid of interceptors or key units if either I know I'm not going to get to 13 soul on that turn, or I already have the 13 soul and I could use it to just get rid of an interceptor so they can't just intercept if I didn't get the chance to Persona Ride, or use it, as an additional shielding. Then we play 4 copies of the new grade 1 Mikini. This is just like the best card in the deck. It's like literally the bread and butter focal point of the deck. It's what makes the order card so good in the deck. Like, because like this card in the soul counts as different card names. So basically, if you have 4 grade 1 Mikinis in the soul, it counts as 4 different card names to your soul count. And because of its effect that it can just like, you could shove it to soul to get your grade 3 Mikinis back from your soul. Well, this only... No, wait. Yeah, you can only use that. You can only use that if you're grade 3. Yeah, if your Vanguard's grade 3 or greater. So you can't do any multi-attack shenanigans with the grade 1 Mikini on turn 2, but you can with the order card. Like I was saying, if you have 8 different card names with the order card, you can call the grade 3 Mikini from your soul on turn 2, give it plus 10, and you have a 23k restander on turn 2, which is insane, which I actually did in my last match video, which you guys should check it out, by the way. In my last match video versus Youthberg, I was actually able to get that combo off and make 4 attacks on turn 2, pushing my opponent to 4 damage. But like I said, just a very crucial card. You wanted to max this out at 4. I never really played this deck as a Highlander deck. I know people kind of assumed that that's because like you want different card names. People kind of assumed like, oh, it's a Highlander deck. You want to play all one-ofs, and if you're playing all one-ofs, it's inherently inconsistent, which is not true in my personal opinion. I never felt like KHEIOS was a Highlander deck. I just felt like you have to run the correct cards at 4 copies, like your key cards, your key soul charging pieces, which is just even more evident now because, let me see here. No, okay. Because these are your key cards, and because like the deck is so consistent, in my opinion, right now, like you actually can run cards that don't soul charge, but do like work in combination with your what's it called? With your game plan / winning strategy. Like for example, the only grade 2 that we run is the new grade 2 Harno Risho, Diverse Wildmaster Harno Risho. We play this card at 4 copies. Let me put this here. So what this guy does is, if you have 8 different names in Soul, basically he's a 10k shield, he's a 15k booster, and he can intercept from the back row. So he's a 15k attacker or booster, and he has the ability to intercept from the back row. Gives this deck an additional shield, which I really like, that not only can you use this guy as a booster, but he can intercept from the back row. Like I said, like this is just really good for the deck because it does help make like good numbers behind your Vanguard. I usually stick this behind the Vanguard or stick it behind a grade 3 Makani, and just really good at making great numbers. Or if you need it, stick him in the front row and he makes a 23k lane with an 8k. And it's just like, in my opinion, it just meshes so well with the deck. And like I said, like I found in testing that like your deck is so consistent to get 13 soul on your turn 3 or on your turn 4. Sometimes if you Persona Ride, getting the 13 soul doesn't even matter. Like there's times where I just focus more on deck thinning with the order normal units out of my deck, and then like using that as like a key push. Like sometimes you don't need the 13 soul to win. Other times like you actually do need the 13 soul to like decimate your opponent's massive hand. And then for grade 1, for the other grade 1s, because I wanted to go over like your key engine cards. Like I wanted to go over the Makanis, your order card, Persona Red first. I am still playing 4 copies of Brainwash Swirler. Funny enough, you don't necessarily need what's it called? You don't necessarily need the buff of Brainwash Swirler in this deck anymore, because we don't really soul charge like that anymore. Most of your soul charging is actually selective soul charging, but this does work well with your ride line, because this is a rush deck, because like my goal is to end the game as soon as possible. I'm usually actually calling these on turn 1 and on turn 2 for 2 reasons. Number 1 is to, of course, rush and try to push my opponent to high damage as fast as possible. And number 2, when people see you call this early, this becomes like a key attack target. It becomes a key snipe target. And because your deck doesn't necessarily revolve around this card, where like if you have it, it's nice to have because it becomes like a 23k booster, an 18k booster, a 13k booster. Like, yeah, I think the most I've soul charged in turn is like 3 or 4. You know, like from the soul charge ability, soul charging. But I generally do like grade 1 Makanis. Like if it's not a matchup that has access to removal, I'll call them to the back row. But usually grade 1 Makanis are very precious. It's like a very precious combo piece, so you don't want to rush with them unless you have to. But this is like a secret. This is like not like a secret, but it's like your opponent sees this card and it's an immediate threat on board, which it is. They're not wrong. It is a threat on board. And if they see you rushing with it, they're going to take that opportunity to either attack into it or to snipe it with one of their card abilities. But we're still playing this at 4. It's still a very good card in the deck, but it's not like as needed as it was in the past. And then we're playing 2 Inhale Pits. So Inhale Pits kind of like, I had like a 2 of slot, that which I was playing Quinn Liu for the longest time, but I feel like the deck got so strong now that it really doesn't need the guard restrict of Quinn Liu anymore. Or more often than not, I'm actually forced to pitch Quinn Liu versus this can be like a really good soul extender to get my 13 different names in soul. So that's why we are playing the 2 Inhale Pits over Quinn Liu. This 2 of slot can technically be whatever you want. If you wanted to make it a 1 of and a 1 of for more names, if you wanted to make it like like 2 Gungan Rams, or if you wanted to make it like a Gungan Ram and one of the Soul Charge grade 2s when it attacks, you can. Like, this 2 of slot can actually be whatever you want. I just prefer the Inhale Pits right now just because almost all your triggers have like different names. Like the most you play of is like the 20k front. But every trigger you play has a different name. So like Inhale Pit can just Soul Blast, like Soul Blast an extra name you have in Soul just to get 2 different names for free. So that's why we are playing the 2 Inhale Pits. It's just a very good combo extender for your 13 names. We're playing a 2 split of the DPGs. You could play the Order Perfect Guard, Elemental Sanctitude. I choose not to because the way this deck plays, how aggressive it is, I generally don't have that large of a hand. And I don't expect to play against grade 4 decks. Like maybe like the one grade 4 deck that kind of came back into like the limelight was Magnolia. But I feel like Magnolia is just like a tad bit slow in this meta currently. That's my opinion on it. Like Magnolia is still strong, but I feel like because it's a grade 4 deck, it's still like a tad bit slow. So I'm not really like playing Elemental Sanctitude for grade 4 decks. I'm not really playing Elemental Sanctitude for like guard restrict decks either. I'm not really too scared of that. Like, my thought process is my hand is going to be tiny, so if I have multiple PGs in hand, like, I'm still able to, like, guard/live effectively and keep at least, like, 1 combo piece, which is usually, like, Persona Ride or one of the Mekanis or the Order card. But going on to the triggers, which is another important part of this deck. So we play 1 Dark States OT. There's really no reason to play any of the other. The Kralements OT, this is just really good in this deck. And I still don't like OTs, so, you know, we are going to be rocking the ban the OT inner sleeve on all our OTs until Butcher decides to make a change. That's my personal little protest against over triggers. But we are playing the 1 Dark States OT. Not really much to talk about there. I am playing 4 different heal triggers. The reason that I'm playing the vanilla heals and not any of the effect heals is just because like I really don't like the effect heals in this format. They don't really do much against the tier 1 decks. Like they don't do much against like Youthberg. None of the effect heals work. Ava, the crit one works, I guess. Lutetia, the restand one works, I guess. But I don't like using the restand one to guard, like, restanding Vanguards. Because, like, number 1, if they check the over trigger, they broke your guard. Number 2, if they put triggers on their Vanguard, which means their Vanguard's bigger than normal, that means you're going to have to use that and an additional card, which means you should have just used a PG to begin with. Is my personal opinion on the effect heals. I don't personally like them right now. Maybe in the future they'll have their time to shine, but right now I feel like you're just better off running the 15Ks for the whole game because, like I said, our hand is small, and the difference between having a 15 and a 10K shield could be a very large difference between winning and losing. And then I'm playing 1 into Soul Crit, 1 of this crit, 2 of this crit, 2 of this crit, and 2 of this crit. So And then just three front triggers. I was playing draw triggers, but the draws actually did deck me out on one occasion that the game did go on longer than initially intended. So the fronts are just preferred for that reason, and the fronts are also preferred because there was a lot of times where like I just died in the early because I had a 10k draw in hand versus like a 20k front. And I take the same approach to whereas when I was playing Bruce, like in like set 4, set 5 meta, to where like grade 4 Bruce, to where is because my deck's a combo deck and it generally wants to kill on the turn 4. I am running the front triggers as like preventative measures of me dying in the early because it is a 20k shield, and the 20k shield does really help in this format in my opinion. I feel like there's a lot of decks that are being taken advantage of because they do have to run the draw triggers, and you know, an 18k swinger like versus Vanguard or like being a rear guard, like it's a big difference, like where you have to guard with 2 5ks or you have to guard for 15 versus, you know, you could drop a 20k for like a 2 to pass or 1 card 2 to pass. So that's my personal opinion on triggers. So the current names that we are running in the different names we are running in the deck in the triggers alone is 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10, 11. So we have 11 different names alone in the triggers. And then in normal units, grade 1 Makani counts as 4 different names. So that's 15. And then you have grade 3 Makani, you have Persona Ride, you have Chalice, you have the Order card, you have Swirler, you have Inhale Pit, you have your PGs. So that is 8. So, let's see here. I believe we're running like 23 to 24 different names. Oh yeah, and then you have your ride line, which counts as like 3 different names. So we're running like 24 to, like a 24 to 26 ratio of different card names. Like I said before in like many profiles, like you could actually check this out in my different, my previous KHEIOS profiles. Like this deck runs way better as a, you know, if you are playing it as a regular combo deck strategy instead of trying to play it as a Highlander strategy. I feel like Dark States right now doesn't have that many very powerful and impactful cards that you could just run them all at singleton and do like very well with it. Like this deck is like I said, this deck's a very good deck in my opinion. Like I feel like it is very playable. I feel like the best moment for a deck like this to shine is best of 1 formats, which we are coming up on Springfest and Bushy Road Rumble, and then regionals later on in the year. So don't be surprised if you do see this deck, or if you really like Dark States and you want a Dark States pick for best of 1 format. I believe KHEIOS is a very strong best of 1 format deck versus best of 3. Like I said, it's an all gas, no brakes deck, so you might have mixed results in a best of 3 format. But anyways, guys, that is the profile. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Check in the description down below if you're interested in purchasing one of these mats. We are giving away one of these mats. So I'll put up like a window of like probably like a week, like 7 days from now. We are giving away one of these mats, thanks to, shout out to my boy Ed the Crimson, one of like my really good Vanguard friends. He just bought a mat and he said, I want you to raffle it off on your channel. So yeah, if you live in the US, we will ship it out to you. But if you live outside of the US, you would have to pay for shipping fees because they would be a little bit more expensive on that end. But to enter the raffle, all you have to do is like, comment, subscribe, like and comment on this video. Like and comment, like, I want to be part of the raffle on this video. And you also have to be subscribed to the channel. And then, like, in 7 days, I'll go to, like, a random generator, like, generate a random number and pick based off that number. But, anyways, guys, this is my KHEIOS deck profile. I know it was a little bit long, but later.